Have you ever come to a moment in your life and you just have this feeling, this nudge, this whisper that the choice you make next has the power and the potential to change your life forever? Or you've been trying to create change and then you start, or an event happens, something just, there's something that happens and it just makes you stop, or you're gifted this almost psychic vision, or this future vision, this future state, this whisper that if you move now, if you align, if you follow through, that everything is going to shift, and that this moment is a defining moment or a defining decision in your life, and you have a choice. You're being gifted an opportunity to be consciously aware of where you are in time and space and who you are, and that in this moment you have a choice between the old, the pain, who you've been, and in this moment of who you are, and then the things that are calling you, the things you say you desire, and a moment to make a decision where you are done dancing back and forwards. And this is what I want to share with you in this video, as the night before, the calling back, the rising. I have been dancing between embodiment and performative efforts of being the Barkindji warrior, of the warrior heart, and bringing it to the world this season of moving from survival to sovereignty, of showing up and being so aligned and so focused for a day, a couple of days, a couple of weeks, and then life happens. I get triggered. Reality starts feeding in, and I stop. And I get caught up in the noise and the shit and the crisis and the chaos again. And I want to share this journey with you. I'm embarking on a 100-day journey of activating, actualizing, and embodying and being. I became the warrior heart in myself and in my own life. And in that, the teaching, the evidence, the light, the road gets created in this 100 days. If you are new here, my name is Chantel Thompson, and I'm a proud Barkindji Yimpa woman, and I'm known in my community as the Barkindji warrior who is bringing the warrior heart to the world. The Barkindji warrior is who I had to fight to become in order to be myself in the world. I'm a Barkindji Yimpa are from the First Nations people or Indigenous people of Australia, and I have other cultural heritage ties: Irish, Scottish, English, Chinese, Sri Lankan. I have a very multicultural background and connections to many different cultures. However, it is my First Nations culture and heritage that defines and shapes who I am and how I move through the world. And I became the Barkindji warrior because I had to become the warrior for myself and in myself, to be able to move through a world that was not created for someone like me, to write my own story, to be leading and succeeding and thriving in the world. The world tried to write my story for me before I was even born. And I refused to accept the story that they tried to define for me that I was allowed to have, of being a woman with white skin who is Indigenous, of being a woman who comes from a small town, and the things that I have experienced. I shouldn't be the woman that I am. From the sexual abuse, from the domestic violence, from the mental health, from the intergenerational cycles of poverty, low socioeconomic status, trauma, mental health, to being from that, to being a woman who wanted to make the world a better place, from a woman who wanted to empower other people to see their own power and potential, for her story to be a mirror of what is possible. When we step into our power, we own our stories, and we move from the heart, activating human potential in others by first being it in myself. To a woman who has won 3 world titles in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a martial arts that I started for therapy and connection and self-development, to being an Indigenous woman who is shifting conversations and re-indigenizing and rebuilding my culture one step at a time, both grassroots and global, who is an entrepreneur and has built a multi-six-figure business, is an Order of Australia medal, award-winning programs, a black belt, the list goes on, a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, multiple degrees, and yet none of that means anything if I don't use it to empower and to make the world a better place, and to empower those who are around me and those who will inherit the world that I leave behind. And I am a few days out from my 42nd birthday, and this birthday is probably one of the biggest milestone markers of birthdays. 39 was the last big one. 40 came in and I was in the middle of being in life. 39 was where I made a decision that my life was going to change forever, that who I had been and what I was doing, I was going to have to let go of that version of myself and the life and the dreams that I thought were going to be my forever, and step into the unknown. And this is now the next level of that. 42 is the age my mum was when she died. My mum passed away 5 days after her 42nd birthday. I was 20 years old. And when I go visit my mum's community, my mum was born and raised in Wilcannia in New South Wales, Australia, which is a very small town. It has a population of around 300 people, probably 70 to 80% Indigenous population. And when you go to the cemetery in Wilcannia, the average range for the years of life on the headstones of people buried there is 50 to 70. And yet statistically, the average life expectancy for men in my mum's hometown is 39. I don't know what it is for women. And I sit here and I go, I have been through so much. I have lived more in 41 years than a lot of people live in 80 years of life. And it's not to take any of that for granted. It's, what am I going to do with what I have left? I have the privilege of still being here when my mum isn't. My mum did not get to live past 42. She didn't get to finish raising her children. She still had young children as well as adult children. She didn't get to be there for her grandchildren or her children as they became parents. She didn't get to age through life and find herself in those different seasons. And that has sat with me for a really long time this year. It has been sitting in my heart and in my mind, particularly as I've struggled with suicidal ideation and the belief and the energy that for a significant amount of the last 3 years, I have not believed, or I've had to fight the belief and the thoughts that I'm not worthy of being here. That the story other people hold about me, I internalize. The things that I've done wrong, the mistakes I made, or not being enough, or being too much, not being worthy, not being allowed, not being safe to just be myself in the world. I made and internalized that to mean that I wasn't worthy of trying again, or of just existing in the world as I am. And I've talked a lot, and I've tried to take the embers in my spirit of this fire for change and transformation, and taking all of my life and releasing what no longer belongs, keeping the essence of it, and allowing myself to move at the pace of peace and trust with myself and in co-creation with those that I serve and love and the world. And this version of me and the life that I have right now, and the crisis and the chaos and all of the collateral damage from being unwell and ending my 20-year relationship and all the things that are my reality right now. And yet I've looked at all the list of accomplishments that I shared, and yet this version of me has struggled to be consistent in the fight to create change and to lay the foundations for the next season, because I've questioned my ability to, who am I? Not from an imposter syndrome, but more from a belief and a sense of responsibility of, who am I to stand up and start bringing the warrior heart to the world when my life is such a mess? It's almost like this version underpins and dismisses everything that I've done in the past versions of myself that have met myself at the intersection of pain and trauma and grief versus my power and my potential in those moments where I was able to ground myself in my dreaming and move through those challenges and find myself and strengthen myself through those challenges whilst being culturally grounded, ancestrally guided, and dreaming led. So as I sit here the night before I embark on 100 days of ceremony, I'm calling it, of activating, of preparing the ground, gathering the fire and listening to the call, that it is time. It is time to stop trying. It is just time to be, and to embody, and to allow conviction to be my currency, discipline to be my devotion, governing decisions to be my integrity, and 100 days of activating and embodying the warrior heart into the woman I became. And this feels true, it feels real, and I feel called to document the journey and share it, because I know that the world is in crisis and chaos. There is so much out of our control. I just read a story on the news of a situation in America where the ICE, where the government, the system where they're deporting people for being undocumented citizens, they tried to deport a Native American woman. Non-Indigenous people from that country, from a colonized land, from stolen land, tried to deport a Native American woman from her own country, literally. And she got picked up for driving unlicensed or something like that. And in the holding cells, she was informed that she wasn't going home, that she was going to be deported. And her family had to rally around her, provide her birth certificate and do all this advocacy. And it was like, how can you deport a Native American woman from their own country? And when the family pushed, the administrators said it was just a human error. It was just a mistake. We've got wars going on. We've got people living in poverty at a time when we have billionaires, people with more money than they could spend in a lifetime. We've got, here in Australia, we've got some of the highest cost of living in the world, and yet the Indigenous people of this country are some of the most incarcerated people in the world, have some of the highest rates of suicide in the world. Like, the disparity between, the gap between these truths and these realities just doesn't sit with me. And I've always been one to, and have been raised by my elders in my community to be a part of the solution, to be a part of bringing into the world that I have been called or that I want to see, rather than bitching about it, do something about it. And I have learnt, if nothing else from my journey, that often the biggest teachings comes from fixing my own shit and addressing my own ish. And then that ripples out into my healing, becomes a public service. It becomes, my challenges become a doorway for the things that I will then go on to teach and share with others. And this is the elder and the matriarch era, the ceremony. I've already fought for so much. I've already overcome and grown through so much and experienced so much. And I had initially thought that this season was about building more and learning more, but I'm now understanding that it's about consolidating. It's about releasing and surrendering. The fight has been done. There will be battles ahead, do not get me wrong, but it is about moving at the pace of peace and trust. It is about moving from eldership and quiet strength and starting to embody the principles and practices of who I've become, so that this becomes a way of life, so that the shutdowns, the wounds become healed. The removing the things that are keeping me unwell, clearing the space so that this isn't something that I do, it's something that I am. And tonight I just want to honor the lessons, the losses, the victories, the wins, the experiences, the love, the grief, the shame, the wounds, the highs and the lows, and honor the versions of me that I've been, the version of me that I am, the woman who I fought to become, the little girl who never quite was able to give up that dream of that something was bigger than what was in front of me, and the ancestors who called me forward, because tonight I call myself home. I release all that no longer serves me and all that no longer belongs, and acknowledge that the 14th of November was an intersecting date and day and moment where I now embark on taking everything and start to become it and be it. And this is what I feel is lost in so many ways for people, that we're so lost in trying to survive and trying to know, or trying to have certainty in a world that I don't think is going to be certain for a very long time, at least not in my lifetime. We're searching for connection and meaning and purpose and a way through. And I think the way through is by coming home to ourselves, is by learning to know ourselves and be ourselves in our own lives, and allowing that to be how we show up, and allowing that to be enough, and allowing that to be nothing and everything all at the same time. I'm seeing so many people in pain, so many people lost and overwhelmed, and so many people stuck in circumstances that of their own making, circumstances where with just a shift in their mindset, a shift in their focus or their efforts, they are everything they need to create the change in their own lives, to turn it all around, whatever their situation is. Particularly if you are in Australia, you have everything you need to create change in your life. We do not have war. We don't have major gun crime. We have crime here, but compared to other places in the world right now, if you decided right now in this moment that you wanted to change your life and turn it all around, you can do that. You have everything you need here to become the person that you are capable of becoming. And yet many of us do not have the courage to own that truth, to own the fact that we already have everything we need to be the change that we want to see in our own lives by being the change within ourselves. And releasing the old season, the old versions, and I really sitting with where the journey has taken me and where I am now and who I've been, who I became, and what in my life I have fought so hard for that has given me everything that I dreamed of 12 months ago, 5 years, 10 years ago, that parts of my life I'm already living my dream self and dream life. And then there are other parts that I have avoided consciously and unconsciously for decades. And it has just compounded on each other. And the more I built those neural pathways of avoidance and justification, the stronger they became, where it almost became neurotic in the neurosis or whatever. I'm trying to use words I don't fully understand, but they were just there on my tongue. That my own mental health challenges are not chemical imbalances in my brain, but psychosocial factors. The way I see the world and myself in it, the story I tell myself, trying to force myself to do things that I feel like I should or that I perceive as my responsibility rather than surrendering to what is really mine to carry versus what isn't. And my fight taught me strength. Now, stillness is going to teach me peace. And I want to invite you right now to sit with yourself in your own story. Where are you in your life? Who are you in your life? Who are you to yourself? And often it is not who we believe ourselves not to be that becomes the biggest barrier. It's who we believe ourselves. It's not who we believe ourselves to be that is the biggest barrier. It's who we believe ourselves not to be that becomes the biggest barrier to being the one who can create change in our lives, to becoming the person who can carry the vision, be the vision, and then bring that to the world through ourselves and our own experience. And these habits of urgency, stories of not enough and the need to prove, like, what is that for you? And what are the stories that you are ready to leave behind or release or start to release? Can you speak that to yourself in your heart? Can you whisper it? Can you write it down? Because sometimes even in that acknowledgement, that's the beginning. That's the planting of the seed. What no longer serves will not walk into my next sunrise is something that came to my spirit and I wrote down. And having the courage that in the last 30 minutes of the 14th of November 2025, what am I willing to leave behind and not bring with me into tomorrow? And gathering what is left in the releasing of all of that, and having the courage to allow it to weave itself together as I learned to get like a baby learning to walk. I've never been this version of myself before. I've never been someone who has just moved from conviction and peace and trust. I've always been ready for the fight. I've already been defensive and ready to do things the hard way or having to earn things. rather than being the woman who can receive things and trust that me being me is enough to be the person who I need to be to fulfill the calling in my life. That the power and the potential I have is not something to apologize for. The wounds that I have is not something to hide or think myself not worthy of being loved. And being the woman who no longer role models self-abandonment, as a way to love. That I'm allowed to matter in my own experience. And that to love myself is to love others. To not allow survival to be a way of life, but rather a moment or a day or a season. And burnout as a way of leadership, of doing all the things and being everything to everyone, rather than going, this is my business, this is my responsibility, this is what is mine, this is what I contribute to, this is what I'm connected to. Anything else outside of that, it has to flow on, it has to move past me. And gathering the fragments and calling yourself home, and doing that as many times as you need until you are fully at home in yourself. Imagine what becomes possible for you if you release the need to be everything to everyone, and you learnt to give yourself the love you wished you could get from others. You learnt to parent yourself the way you wished your parents could have parented you. To learn to date yourself and be in a relationship with yourself, and to give to yourself what you wished your partner or a future or a desired partner would give you. To be your own best friend, to be your own coach and mentor, to be your own grandparent. And being able to meet yourself from a place of compassion and love, but also accountability and responsibility. And owning your own shit and being okay and going, well, I've said I want this. Now that it's here, or now that I'm having to do the work of this thing, and I'm finding it's not really my truth. And rather than running from that, it's going, okay, well, where has this led me? Like allowing your life to guide you as much as you try to guide your life, rather than trying to force the journey, the road. It's like, allow that guide or that calling to be exactly that, the destination to be a guide, and allow the journey to shift how you get there and who you become along the way. Now, I want you to just take a moment and sit with yourself and just picture, think, feel all the different threads of where your energy is connected to right now. Your job, your projects, your family, those that you love, those that you're responsible for, your dreams, your hobbies, your friends, your old relationships, your old past mistakes, your exhaustion, your unfinished dreams, all those open tabs on your computer, all those to-do lists. And imagine if you just let them go and see what remains. What is true right now? What is really yours to hold? What is your responsibility and your sacred obligation? And versus what are your deepest desires and what calls you, what speaks to you, what makes you feel alive? And the answers to these can be the thing that guides you to your next best step. Because there's no point having a 10-step in a world that is changing faster than any other point in human history. The next 3 steps, the next 90 days, like it's great to have a 3, 5 or 10-year plan, but that can be there as a guide rather than a set in stone parchment that goes this and it has to be this. Rather than going, 90 days from now, I said I was going to do this in December, but by February, March, it looks different. Because what I planned for in December, life shifted or changed, but by having that focused, it allowed me to bypass the noise, be hyper-focused on where I was going, and I found direction. I found momentum. But when I lifted my head, I've realized that the direction has changed. The energy has changed, or the vision has evolved, because it's been co-created in context, in life, in real time. And I'm finding that it feels true and it feels right that this is needed in the world right now, because I'm like, building a business around your own life story and your own wisdoms and teachings, and not understanding how that's going to show up in the world, and you are your own business, is really vulnerable. That your ability to take care of your family and pay your bills and put food on the table is on you, and is something, and it's really vulnerable, that the thing that I'm using to take care of my family is my own story and my own experience and knowledge. There's a lot of freedom in that. There's a lot of power, and there's a lot that comes with it. So sitting with all of that, and that's where peace becomes trust, and trusting that everything you need is already within. And from what I'm seeing with so many people and the pain that in the world, what I have is not a fast fix. It's not something sexy where people will jump on it immediately and go, I'm not teaching people how to make $1,000 over the weekend. I'm not teaching people how to start a business or how to lose 5 kilos in 30 days. And what I have is, it is life work. It is something that is continuous. It's never an end state that you reach. And yet that is my truth. I've always been deep. I've always been big thinker, visionary, transformation, activating human potential. And that feels true to me. And it's like, I don't know how this is going to unfold. I don't know how that's going to translate to me having someone in 6 months' time saying that the work that I did with Chantel helped me do X, Y, and Z. It helped me change my life, or it helped me heal something. It helped me start something. It helped me let go of something. I know it to be true, but the pathway is still unclear. And the belief is still fragile. The belief is still vulnerable. And yet, this is about me having that trust in that bigger vision and going, well, hold on. In order to be that person for others, I need to first be it for myself. And preparing the fire and setting the governing decision that this is it. There is no plan B. There is no plan C. I'm an entrepreneur. The warrior heart is my business, is my message to the world. My lived experience, my healing, my story is now my service and offering to the world. And this is it. This is the night before. This is the ceremony, because so many people want purpose. They want connection. They want belonging. And yet they are willing to abandon themselves in order to have false senses of belonging. They are willing to sacrifice themselves in service of others who would not do the same for them, or who aren't willing to build relationships of reciprocity and respect and responsibility and respect as the foundations for our relationships. And the fact that what is right relationship? What are relationships built on the pace of peace and trust with yourself, with your life, and with those that you interact with and love and serve? I want you to just sit with yourself, and if you have a candle or you have water or some sort of earth element, real life element, and sit with yourself and ask yourself, what is the intention or the calling that you have in this season as we come up to the last 50 days, 50 plus days of the year, the last 6 weeks of 2025. How are you going to end this year? Are you going to end it hating on 2025 and I can't wait for 2026? How are you going to end this year and use that ending also as a beginning? And lean into love and truth and go, did I do my best this year? Did I show up in the ways that I wanted, that I could have, that I desired? Who was I at the start of the year? And where have I evolved and changed, and where have I stayed the same? What's going well in my life, and what needs to change or evolve? And just allowing your spirit to speak to you, and write it down, record it. Just gift yourself a moment, 15 minutes, an hour, to just be with yourself and be with your life, and ask yourself these questions. And imagine a fire, and what does that fire represent for you? And for me, it's the spirit of the warrior heart and the dreaming within that is now being called to be in my blood, in my cells, in my very essence. And to be embodied fully, in order to me to be able to bring that energy to the world, I need to bring it to myself first. As I've been saying but haven't been doing, a tree has to first take what it needs before it can become a tree that provides to others. And for me, conviction is my currency. Discipline is my devotion. Consistency is ceremony, and surrender and peace, or surrender and trust, are my peace. And does your mirror reflect your commitment? Does your mirror and who you see reflect your truth and someone that you want to be in relationship with for the rest of your life? If today was your last day, would you be at peace with who you are and what you've done with your life? Invite your ancestors to walk with you. Invite your spirit to be with you. You don't have to do this alone. And there's a difference between being alone and lonely. And sometimes we need to be brave enough to stand alone to find ourselves in the crowd. And sometimes we are guided into a season where so many things will drop off. So many things will fall away when we start to find our truth, and when things start to fall away that no longer belong. Sometimes that's people, sometimes it's dreams, and sometimes our becoming only becomes possible in the shattering of the old and allowing the pieces to fall where they may, and being okay with being broken and fragmented, because in order to evolve or transform, you cannot continue with what got you here. You cannot continue to be the person that got you here, because that's not going to be the person who's going to take you there. And I want to invite you to invite your ancestors. Thank them for being there with you, because they always have been. Your spirit's always been there with you. Your knowing has always been there. You might not have always listened. You might not have always been connected or in relationship, but they've never abandoned you. They've never left you. And just thank them for being there, and ask them to sit with you as you carry them in your heart, in your energy, and how you move through the world moving forward. So for me, honouring my mum and what she has meant to me over the last 20 years, and her spirit and her story being with me, even if she's not here physically with me, and what that has meant, but feeling the need to now release my mum as a guiding pillar of my life, and going, oh, my mum didn't get to do these things, so I'm privileged that I get to do them, that I still get to be a mum, that I get to turn 42. And I know that this is one moment. Turning 42 on my birthday is another thing. And then getting to that fifth day of being 42 will be another moment. And it felt right that the 15th of November becomes the first day, day one of the 100 days of embodying, activating and actualizing the warrior heart into myself. And I became the woman who was the warrior heart in herself before she became that for the world. And I want to give you a little ceremony that you can start this process that is mind, body, spirit, ancestors, and country. In your mind, name one truth that anchors you, one belief that anchors you in that dreaming, in that embodied version of yourself. And in your body, breathe into that. It doesn't have to be in sitting still. It can be, allow it to move through you. If you feel something in your body, pay attention to that. Allow it to move. And are you closing in on yourself, or are you expanding and leaning in? Our body speaks to us. Our heart speaks to us. We just need to learn to listen and find its language. And allow your spirit to whisper a prayer to the world. Allow your country to speak to you. Allow your ancestors to speak to you. And what does coming home to yourself mean? What does being yourself in the world look like? And what's it going to take for you to be yourself in yourself, let alone in your own life and in your world? This is the night before the 100 days of ceremony of becoming and being the warrior heart in my own life, and documenting that journey of what it means for my journey to Black Belt World Champion, my journey to Killalana Foundation, to the warrior heart, and weaving those together as Chantel the woman, Chantel the mother, Chantel the auntie, the daughter, the sister, with the vision, with the dreaming, and being culturally grounded, ancestrally guided, and dreaming led. I hope this has resonated with you in some way, and I look forward to sharing the next 100 days and documenting the journey with you and the insights and the learnings. This is the night before the 100 days. If this has served you in some way, if you are in your own season and journey of being or becoming and releasing, and this speaks to you, come and join the Warrior Heart community over on School. Share this with someone that you love. And I just want to thank you and honor you for being here and being in your own journey. And that this is the weaving of the warrior heart, the Barkindji warrior, the woman, the mother, the entrepreneur, the warrior, all coming into the being of just one, and being at peace and in trust with self, ancestors, dreaming in it all in this moment.